Hello, and welcome to Training Tuesday, where we go through weekly tips and tricks to make your career just a little bit more awesome. This week, we are talking about stepping stone opportunities, and these are the things that are a stepping stone, of course, between your current role and your next opportunity. And the reason that I bring these up is because I think people often forget that these exist. So often I hear people who are in a role that they're just so miserable at. And whether it be their manager, their team, the company culture, something has gone sour and they want to get out of there as soon as possible. The problem with this is that sometimes when people are in that headspace, it comes up in their interview and sabotages them a little bit. And so even though they want so badly to be in that next role that's a full-time thing, that's a perfect fit, sometimes they can do stuff that makes it so that they can't find those opportunities as easily. Typically, it shows up as either one, they go in and they are making away from decisions, right? So all they're thinking about is the job that they want to leave, and they'll miss some really obvious red flags in the interview process, take a role, find that next full-time opportunity, and then a couple months down the road realize that it wasn't the right fit and that they've made a terrible mistake and they have to start the process all over again. Now, we don't want you doing that, but again, because of you're coming at this, I need to get a new role place, sometimes it happens. The other main thing people do that sometimes sabotages themselves is because they're in this really negative headspace at their current day-to-day, they take that with them to their interviews. Not intentionally, but they show up with that, I really need this to work vibe. Sometimes they will either not ask a ton of questions. I say this as someone who has been in a hiring manager role for positions like this, where you can always tell the people who either don't seem to really care that much about the company or the role, and you can tell they just really want anything. It's pretty off-putting as a hiring manager because you can kind of tell, you're like, they're not in it for the right reasons, right? So make sure that you are not bringing that along with you to the interviews. But because people sometimes tend to do these things, we want to talk about the fact that bridge jobs are a great option, because if you're wanting to kind of go from that current role you're in right now into your next opportunity, you can use another opportunity as a stepping stone to that next thing so that you can make a better decision. So again, this is a personal decision for everyone, and based on where you're at, you can decide whether or not this is an option for you. But I like to mention it because oftentimes people they forget that it exists, right? They think that there's either, it's very black or white. There's either staying at my current job and hating it, or getting my next full-time role and having it be perfect. Sometimes there can be this happy little area in between where it's, maybe I can find something part-time to tide me over, get me out of this really negative space where I am making very bad away from decisions, and actually be my funding so that I can take the time, pay myself to look for my next full-time role with intention, opposed to just looking for that. Right, so sometimes there's something part-time, something you can do to fund yourself to make your next step a little bit better. I wanted to really emphasize these today as an option for people because I think oftentimes people forget that they exist. So again, not the right move for everyone, but if you're at that place where it's so incredibly miserable and you can tell that it's really weighing on you day in and day out, consider getting something as a stepping stone to your next opportunity. Always knowing that it doesn't need to be a forever thing, but if you can do something to tide you over and get you out of that negative funk for a little bit, might be worth it. Okay, so again, just consider that as an opportunity, along with many of these other things that we talk about, ways to try and make the day in and day out more positive, focusing on the things that you appreciate about the role, working with your manager to try and make things improved. Those are always our first line of defense, doing what you can to salvage the role. And if it comes to the point where you can no longer do that, then you can certainly use this as an opportunity. You can make that choice if it's the right fit for you. I'm happy to be here to help any of you who are working through whether this would be the right fit for you. Of course, that's always what I'm here for. You can reach out to me directly, send me a DM. But in the meantime, consider that. Consider what you can do to make the jobs a better fit in the meantime. And always know that this is an opportunity for you should you need it, okay? So try that tip on for size. And in the meantime, happy working.